Welcome to Journaling with Nature, the podcast for those who want to turn curiosity into wonder, a pencil sketch into a rabbit hole of discovery, a moment of stillness into a life full of joy. I'm your host, Bethan Burton. Let's open the pages of our nature journals and explore this world together. Hello, this is episode 26. I'm so happy to be back here with you after taking February off the podcast. It was a nice break, but it was actually really long because I've been itching to get back to the podcast to share all the new episodes with you. I was thinking about it a lot, and in fact, even though I took a month off releasing podcasts, I didn't take a month off recording them. So I'm well ahead of myself. I've got lots of episodes to share with you, and I'm so excited about it. Before I jump into the show, I want to let you know that I've started a Patreon page. Patreon is a platform where people can financially support creators to help them continue their work. It involves a lot of input and effort and time and money to make a podcast. So your financial support is really, really helpful. If you enjoy the podcast and you have the means, I'd love for you to join me on Patreon. Your support is deeply appreciated and it helps me make this podcast project sustainable in the long term. So today is going to be a solo show. When I started out with the podcast, I had the thought that I would do some solo shows and some interviews and intermingle them. And it so happened that I did the first podcast, the first episode of the show was a solo one. And then I just got carried away with all the episodes and I haven't recorded another solo show. But today I'm going to answer a question from a listener, and this listener's name is Dan, and Dan is a nature photographer and he's new to nature journaling, and he confided in me that he was feeling a little overwhelmed by the volume of videos and blog posts and resources and classes for nature journaling, and was wondering if I had any thoughts on avoiding overwhelm when starting out with nature journaling. I thought this would be a great topic for a podcast because even though I'm not a beginner, I often feel this same sense of overwhelm. There are so many videos that I want to watch and events I want to attend. I have a sense that if I don't watch that video or attend that online event, that I'll be missing out on something really important. And it's hard to shake that feeling and remember why I'm doing this in the first place. So this episode will be a little chat about how to avoid overwhelm. The question came from Dan, who is new to nature journaling, but really this applies to everyone. Nature journaling has really taken off in a big way over the past few years, but especially in the last year during COVID times, I feel. I'm guessing this is because people are looking for a new focus, a new sense of what's really important, ways to calm and relax during stressful times, and ways to make connection with ourselves and outwardly with nature and others in the community. This means that there's been a huge increase in resources, videos, blog posts, and classes relating to nature journaling. And we have access to all of this. You just have to click the mouse and there it all is. And this is a wonderful thing. And at the same time, it can be really overwhelming and hard to know where to start. So I've made a list of 10 things to help control this sense of overwhelm. So I'm just going to go down the list and have a little chat about it. So first on the list, number 1, we need to keep it simple. We need to try and let go of that voice that's telling us, if you don't watch every minute of every class that's available, you're going to be missing out on something. This is a really normal feeling. It's brought on by seeing things on social media and having the sense that you need to be everywhere and see everything. This is such a normal thing that it has its own acronym, FOMO, fear of missing out. So firstly, when this feeling comes up, feel it and let it pass. You're not missing out. You can go back to resources later at the right time for you. Number 2, I recommend starting with a very clear and simple collection of videos that explains nature journaling simply but also in detail. And this is a series that John Muir-Laws has been putting out weekly, and it's called The Nature Journal Connection. In this weekly video series, Jack takes the viewer step by step into different aspects of nature journaling. I can't recommend this series highly enough. If you only have one nature journaling resource and you had to leave all the rest behind, I think this video series would be enough to launch you into nature journaling fully equipped. Each week, Jack breaks down one aspect of nature journaling, one activity, and gives you all the details of how to do it, along with a short demonstration. The length is really accessible, and that's what I like about these videos. The videos are around 15 minutes long, so you don't have to think, oh, I'd love to watch that instructional video, but it's 2 hours and I just don't have the time. 15 minutes is really easy to find, and because they're being released each week, you can pace them out and focus on one aspect of your journal that week. They're easily understandable for kids, but also perfect for adults. I'm going to link to the Nature Journal Connection in the show notes of this episode, so definitely take a look at that series if it's new to you. Number 3, go from general to specific. And by that I mean, you don't need to watch videos on how to draw bird feet, for example, before you've drawn lots and lots of birds. Details can wait. Start with general subjects, and if you really want to find out how to draw the eye of a newt or whatever, you can seek out that later on. But just keep it simple, general, and then work towards the specifics as you get deeper and deeper into nature journaling. Number 4, if seeing perfect journal pages online is adding to this feeling of overwhelm and you're worried about your first attempts at making art in your nature journal, get some pencil miles behind you. Let your pen just wander on the page completely freely and try not to judge your lines at all. If it's birds you want to capture in your journal, sit outside with paper and pen and just scribble sketch birds. Literally scribble. It's fun, it's relaxing, and it will help you let go of this anxiety or need for perfection. Just catch 1 or 2 lines of movement of a bird. Keep going. Observe, sketch, observe, sketch, observe, sketch. Just turn pages like you did when you were a child. Keep going. Get good at scribbling. It's really fun. Get good at making marks without judging them. I watch my young son drawing and he can turn pages. He just does a sketch, next page, next sketch, next page. He's not looking back and thinking about the last one. He's on to the next sketch. Use a cheap journal for this so that you're not worried about messing up a page or making something precious or wasting expensive paper. This is really important. I'd recommend drawing also with a pen, and this may sound scary or counterintuitive for a beginner, but you can't erase and correct your lines, and that's exactly the point of doing it with a pen. As soon as you have the option to correct a line, you bring in this little voice in your head that says, that's not right, that's not in proportion, and then you go down this other rabbit hole of, what am I doing? I'm not an artist, who am I kidding? I can't do this. But when you have a pen and you're just scribbling down marks and you can't correct them, and this just helps you let go of some of the anxiety to be perfect. When I was creating the website for International Nature Journaling Week, I felt like I really needed to address this issue of art anxiety because it's super common, and addressing this anxiety about drawing is actually a really big part of my everyday work as a nature journal teacher, easing people through that and into the flow of being able to sketch freely. So I made a whole page on that website called For the Reluctant Artist, and it addresses some of these things. So I'll link that page in the show notes too. Number 5, think about your goals and motivation when you started nature journaling. Is your goal to get better at nature sketching? Then start by tackling one area at a time. Say it's landscapes. Seek out only videos or content related to that topic. That way you're not trying to take in every video on every subject and getting overwhelmed. And once you've focused on landscapes for a while and you're feeling comfortable and confident, then you can move on to the next topic. Maybe your original goal was to connect with your home patch, to know your piece of the world more deeply and understand the rhythms and cycles of your local environment. In this case, you could try creating a phenology wheel, which is a circle drawn on a page and divided into 12 segments, one for each month. Then you can observe the changes in nature in your home patch over the course of a year and capture what you see month by month in each of those segments. After a year, you'll have a beautiful record of the seasonal changes around you. Or another way to connect with your local environment is to begin a perpetual journal. This is a nature journal divided into 52 weeks. Each week you draw a small something, just a small something you notice around you, and you put it on the corresponding page for that week. And then you go back to that same page again the next year and you draw something else. And you begin to build up this nature journal that you'll have for many, many years. And it builds up a picture of what's around you during that time of the year, observing seasonal changes and getting to know your place, deepening your knowledge year after year. It's a very, very beautiful way to capture what's around you. Maybe your goal was to connect with others and share ideas. In this case, you can join a nature journal club or start your own club. There's a lot of options for online nature journal clubs if you're restricted right now and you can't meet others in person. One very active online nature journal club is the Monterey Bay Nature Journal Club run by Melinda Nakagawa. They have weekly Zoom meetings with activities and sometimes guest speakers. I'll link that in the show notes, and everybody is welcome. Another online nature journal club is in Melbourne, Australia, which is run by Amy Kirkbride. These clubs welcome everyone, and you don't have to be from that particular city. You just have to be in a time zone that matches up with your waking hours. If you're interested in starting your own nature journal club, John Muir-Laws has guidelines and encouragement for this and can help you begin. And you don't have to be an experienced nature journaler to start your own club. And that's the beauty of it. You can create the club as a way of gathering people around you in your community that love what you love and that would like to nature journal at the same time. It can be really simple. Maybe your goal was to use nature journaling and nature connection as a way to practice self-care. One idea to encourage this is to nature journal in a sit spot. A sit spot is a place that you go over and over again, somewhere close to home where you can sit and be mindful of nature, relax, journal, connect with what's around you. It's a beautiful practice and it really can be a wonderful part of your self-care routine. Whatever your goal is, I recommend having a think about it and maybe even write it out for yourself so that the goal is really clear in your mind. Then you can assess what you do against whether or not it's going to help your nature journaling goal. So if your goal is self-care, but you're spending hours on the screen watching nature journaling videos, it's not going to help you get closer to your goal unless it feels positive and nourishing for you, in which case, wonderful. And maybe if watching a lot of online videos doesn't feel like self-care to you, then you'd prefer to use books as a source of nature journaling information and inspiration. Whatever it is, whatever your goal was when you started nature journaling, be clear about it and choose what you access with that in mind. Number 6, start a playlist on YouTube or a bookmarks folder in your browser. Save videos or blogs that you don't want to forget to the folder, but don't try to watch them all straight away. When you're ready to move on to the next topic, you can browse the folder and find what inspires you. This way you're going to calm that little voice in your head that's worried about missing out on something or losing the link or the resource. Whisper, it's okay, we're saving it for later, and then you can relax. Number 7. Find and follow the work of 1 or 2 journalers who inspire you. You don't have to try at first to follow everyone. There are so many inspiring people out there, but it can be overwhelming to try and follow the whole body of work for all these people that you find inspiring. Everyone has a different style. Find the person or the few people with energy that matches yours. So Marley Pfeiffer, who has the Nature Journal show on YouTube, he has high energy and an adventure vibe. Melinda Nakagawa, who teaches under the name Spark in Nature and runs the Monterey Bay Nature Journal Club, She has a really loving and connected vibe. John Muir-Laws has a how-to vibe, and from him you'll learn a lot of detailed things about nature art. If you're overwhelmed by all the amazing things coming out at once, choose one creator and follow their work. Continue to bookmark the work of others if that helps silence that little worried voice, but focus on just one or two that resonate with you at the start. Each of the other creators will still be there when you're ready to branch out. Number 8, find what brings you joy. You don't have to do or learn everything. Seek out the parts of nature journaling that make your heart sing the most. Right now you might be really feeling poetry. Look for teachers who are writing blogs or creating content on poetry or nature writing. Or you might be super keen to increase your nature art skills and you can't go past Jack Laws for this. So focus on where the joy is for you and follow the resources down that path until you're ready for the next thing. Number 9, if sharing online keeps you motivated and inspired, then go for it. And if it changes the way you're journaling and it's making you want to create perfect, pretty pictures, then ditch social media posting and keep your journal just for you. You don't want to get into this habit of comparing your pages or worrying if they're going to be liked or focusing on certain things in your nature journal because you know it will be popular online. Nature journaling is about deepening your connection with nature, experiencing joy, and having fun. Check in with yourself and see if sharing your posts online is supportive of this or if it's changing the way you journal. So if social media keeps you connected and it makes you feel good, then do it, and if not, ditch it. Number 10, I want to encourage you to remember that nature journaling is for you. It's a practice. It's about putting pen to paper. And so remember that online resources are there to encourage and to stretch you, but not to distract you from the real work of actually nature journaling. If you're finding that you're doing a lot of online learning, but not a lot of real life nature journaling, it might be time just to turn off and go outside and spend some time with nature. So that's my list of 10 ways to help with nature journaling overload. It's a good problem to have, I think. We have so many resources we can't keep up. How wonderful. So go gently on yourself, take everything step by step, and remember that connecting with nature is the main goal of all of this. Seek out things that help you foster that connection. If anything is overwhelming but not fostering your connection, ditch it. And remember, the best type of learning, the best nature journal teacher is nature herself. So the more time we can spend outside just listening to nature and observing and feeling and putting all that down on paper, that's where the real learning happens. That's where the real nourishment happens. Thank you to Dan for this question. It's been fun to explore and think about these things for myself as well as for you, the listener. It wasn't until I received this question that I thought I would revisit the idea of the solo shows. I have mixed feelings about it and I'd love to know what you think. I'm really interested to know what you'd like to hear. Would you like to hear a mixture of shows like this on one aspect of nature journaling alongside the regular interviews? Or would you just prefer to hear interviews and skip the solo shows? You can let me know by sending an email to bethan@journalingwithnature.com. I'd love to hear from you. I want to deliver what you're interested in hearing, so let me know. There's a couple of extra things I want to tell you about. The first is that I've started putting out a series of weekly nature journal prompts, and these are just little images that give you a direction for nature journaling each week. And you can find these prompts on my website. There's a blog post about it, but you will see them come up weekly on Instagram and Facebook. So you can follow me there and you'll find these prompts. They're a really fun, simple way to guide your nature journaling for the week. So have a look at that. The other thing is that I'm going to send out monthly newsletters, and in the newsletter it's going to be a roundup of the podcast for that month and also something I'm calling the Nature Journaling Inspiration List, and it's going to be a list of 5 fantastic things that are happening around the world in nature journaling, like a top 5 nature journaling list, something like that. So if you're interested in joining my mailing list, I'll post a link to that in the show notes for this episode as well. I'm really excited to share with you the interviews that I've got lined up. Oh my goodness, there are some amazing guests. I feel so lucky to have the chance to speak with these guests and go deeply into their stories and history and bring all that to you through the podcast. It's actually been really hard to take this time away from the podcast because it brings me so much joy, and I love connecting with guests and connecting with you as well. It's good to be back. Thank you so much for listening. See you next week.